Okay, that is also a very interesting question. Now let us study more about carbon. Let me bring my pen so that I can draw the carbon. Let us draw the carbon. How many electrons does the carbon have? 8 or 6? Carbon has 6 electrons. I hope you can see this. Can you see this? So the electronic configuration becomes 2, 4. I hope the electronic configuration is also clear. So whenever you draw the carbon atom, let's draw a carbon atom. So this is what you are going to see. Okay, the nucleus in the center, I have drawn a wheel. It is a nucleus. Let me clear it. Okay, so this is the nucleus, and the outer K shell has 2 electrons, L shell has 4 electrons. Okay, the carbon atom is smaller in its entire group. Okay, first of all, okay, so carbon is the smallest element in the entire group. Second of all, because it is very small and its inner shell only has 2 electrons, there is very less amount of shielding. Now what is this shielding? You will come to know as you come to the 10th class, but for now what you really need to know is the 4 electrons that are outside are quite free. Okay, since they are free, they can carbon can either give 4 electrons or it can take 4 electrons. Now this is very interesting thing. If you don't know law of octaves, then you need to know what does law of octaves say. Law of octaves says that for any electron to get stability or to gain stability, it needs to have how many electrons in its outermost shell? 8 electrons. Now for the carbon to get 8 electrons in its outermost shell, how many electrons does it need? It needs 4 more electrons. Now from where will carbon get these 4 electrons? From other atoms, obviously. Now since the carbon can either give 4 electrons or take 4 electrons, because the electrons are free. Because electrons are free, carbon can either give 4 electrons or take 4 electrons, and this is why you see 2 to 3 unique characteristics that are not seen in any other elements. You only see this thing in carbon. First thing is catenation. Catenation. Now what is catenation? Catenation means it will share 4 electrons only. It can either give or take 4 electrons. Okay, now this might sound quite confusing, but as you reach to the 11th-12th standard, you will get this thing. But what you can say is it can either give 4 electrons or take 4 electrons or share 4 electrons. Now what does carbon do? Carbon shows unique characteristics called as catenation. What does catenation say? Catenation means it can create bonds with other 4 carbons. Okay. Now what does this mean? This means that carbon can form chains and nets. Okay. Okay, so this is basic carbon chain, and carbon can form a lot of long structures using this same thing. You don't find this thing common in any other element. You don't find this in any other element other than silicon, but silicon is huge. Silicon also falls in the group of carbon. Let me load the periodic table so that you get an idea. Okay, so you see the carbon is over here, carbon, silicon, germanium, and other elements, but most importantly carbon. When you see carbon, first thing is that it has a smaller size. Secondly, it shows catenation, which no other element shows. Silicon shows, but it is quite limited, so you don't really need to think about it. But since you are preparing for NEET in class 10th, so I am explaining this thing for you. So silicon also shows this catenation property, in which carbon can form its own chains, and this is why there are millions of compounds that are made up of carbon. I hope this answers your doubt. And how carbon makes many bonds with each other, with other. So what other? If you really see, carbon can make triple bonds when it comes to covalent bond. Now let us learn a little bit of covalent bonds. Covalent bonds means there is sharing of electrons. Now what type of covalent bonds can carbon form? Carbon can just give one electron and form a single covalent bond. How does single covalent bond form? Okay, who are we going to use? Let us take another carbon. So this carbon and this carbon. I hope you can see this. I think it must be pretty clear by now what I am trying to say. Carbon can form, just a second. Okay, so let me manage this screen and let me minimize it. Okay, no problem. So carbon can form this type of single bond. Okay, now in a single covalent bond there are two electrons that are shared, one from the carbon one and one from the carbon another, means another carbon. So here two electrons are involved, and this is a single covalent bond. Now there comes the double covalent bond. Now who are we going to link this with? Another with the same carbon. So this is double covalent bond. Here 4 electrons are shared. Okay, 2 from this carbon and 2 from this carbon. Very important thing, as you know, you should know this thing. And now when it comes to triple bond, let us take another element, that is nitrogen. So when this thing happens with nitrogen, now nitrogen is a very crazy guy. He has probably 7 electrons in its external shell. Let us see. Nitrogen, I don't remember exactly, but I think okay, so electronic configuration of nitrogen is I don't remember it. Wait, let me recall. I think it is going out of my memory, but yeah, 2,5. Okay, so the electronic configuration of nitrogen is 2,5. That means it has 7 electrons in total. So 7 electrons. Out of these, let us take 3 electrons, 1, 2 and 3. Let us erase other things. So what carbon does is, carbon takes its own 3 electrons and makes a bond. This is triple covalent bond. Okay, this is very lame. I am trying to explain in very lame terms. So this is what you are going to see. So this is why carbon becomes very special. It shows catenation. It also shows single, double, triple bonds, and also it has a smaller size. And this is why carbon forms a large number of compounds. Also, yeah, these are main characteristics. If a question comes, you can answer it. I hope. No, I think you can answer it. Not a big deal. Carbon has valency 4. Again, you should also mention that. And you can also watch my lecture on carbon that I shot couple of months ago. I think that is when this topic was covered. And this topic does require a little bit of study. So make sure you are studying that topic